Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech. So today, we're going to be talking about 5-color slivers in Pioneer. This is definitely a really fun list, definitely one of the more unique lists we've ever done on the channel. I think this is our first 5-color deck technically. Before we hop into the deck here, let me know in the comment section below after the video, what do you like about the list? What do you hate? What would you change? And as always, if you have any suggestions for upcoming decks you'd like to see on the channel, just let me know in the comment section below and it will be considered. So, all right, Slivers. So I know there's a lot of hype building around Slivers right now because of the Commander Master spoilers. There's a ton of new Sliver reprints, a ton of new Sliver cards. Fortunately, none of those new Slivers are in Pioneer, but we are getting some very cool reprints that are definitely going to help with the price overall with Slivers in general for Pioneer for those that are interested in building it. So there's a couple different ways that we can go about building Slivers in Pioneer. So I decided to build a more low to the ground, like collected company version, kind of like the ones that you see in Modern, of yesteryear. Unfortunately, we don't. A lot of those good slivers are not in Pioneer. But anyways, we're going to be playing a low to the ground sliver deck, so don't be expecting like Megantic Sliver or anything like that in the deck. Although it's a very sweet sliver, just not one that we fit into the list. So, all right, we're going to hop right into the 1-drops here. We're playing 4 Gale Rider Sliver and 4 Striking Sliver. Gale Rider Sliver is a 1/1 for 1 blue. Sliver creatures you control have flying, which very, very good sliver, obviously. Flying, fantastic. Being able to give all of our slivers flying is fantastic. Then we're playing Striking Sliver. It's a 1/1 for 1. Sliver creatures you control have first strike. Very common theme with slivers. Like, for those who are not very familiar with slivers, this is what they do. They just give slivers an ability, and that's pretty much what they do. It's very cool. So, those are our 1-drops that we're playing. We're also playing 4 Diffusion Sliver. It's a 1/1 for 1 and a blue sliver. Whenever a sliver creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 2, or, in modern terms, it's essentially Ward 2. So, obviously, fantastic giving slivers Ward 2, especially in the early game. Not a lot of people are going to have that extra mana to pay. So, this is like almost hexproof in a way. Just obviously remember, it is a triggered ability. So, if you're ever playing at F&M and you're playing this deck, we got to hit that trigger with the Diffusion Sliver. All right, so those are a couple of our early drops here. Obviously, we've got some more 2-drops here to talk about. We're playing 3 Mana Weft Sliver. It's a 1/1 for 1 and a green sliver. Sliver creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. We're just playing 3 copies of it, although being able to, have our slivers make mana is pretty fantastic. We're only playing 3 copies of the Mana Weft Sliver. Obviously, functional Reaper of Gemhide Sliver, but unfortunately, Gemhide Sliver is not in Pioneer, so we're playing Mana Weft Sliver. We're also playing 4 Predatory Sliver. It's a 1/1 for 1 and a green sliver. Sliver creatures you control get +1/+1. That's it. It gives them +1/+1. Definitely one of the main lords, actually technically our only main lord that is a sliver in the deck, at least a true one that gives +1/+1. But as our substitute lord, since we don't have a lot of lords in Pioneer, we're playing 4 Metallic Mimic. It's a 2/1 for 2 artifact creature shapeshifter. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So, in a way, it's kind of a lord. When it enters the battlefield, it is considered a sliver. So it gets all the abilities from all the other slivers, which is fantastic. And then any other sliver that we play past Metallic Mimic enters with a +1/+1 counter. So, it's kind of a lord. It's definitely a lord in the way. If you, on turn 2, most of the time, you probably should play the Metallic Mimic just because, obviously, every sliver past that gets buffed. So, that's our pseudo-lord. So, we're going to hop into our other creatures here. We're playing 2 Sentinel Sliver. It's a 2/2 for 1 and a white. Sliver creatures you control have Vigilance. Solid. We're playing 2 copies of it just because, it's Vigilance. It's definitely not one of the best in terms of, giving keyword, but Sentinel Sliver is still fantastic, and it's cool. We can, Sentinel Sliver, we can, attack with all of our slivers with Vigilance, and then we can tap them for mana and do some shenanigans, which is pretty funny. But anyways, we're playing 2 copies of Sentinel Sliver. We're also playing 4 copies of Blur Sliver. It's a 2/2 for 2 and a red sliver. Sliver creatures you control have haste. Obviously, haste, fantastic keyword. That's why we're playing 4 copies of Blur Sliver. That way, every sliver we play past that, we just turn it sideways. Then, rounding out our slivers, we are playing 4 Steel Form Sliver. It's a 2/2 for 2 and a white. Sliver creatures you control get +0/+1. So, a half lord in a way. Yeah, that's about it. That's Steel Form Sliver. Obviously not as good as Predatory Sliver, but still giving +0, +1 is still a solid effect in a tribal deck like this. So that is all of our Slivers from what I remember. It is. We're going to be talking about the main engine of the deck, Collected Company. We're playing 4 copies of Collected Company. It's the Rainy Grain instant. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. Put up to 2 creature cards with CMC 3 or less from among them on the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Obviously, that's how we're refilling our battlefield, is with Collected Company. Put some Slivers in play, you know, put in like Predatory Sliver in a steel form or whatever. Give them haste and +1/+1, whatever. Collected Company, obviously fantastic card. That's part of the reason we're not playing any of the big Slivers, is because we need to put Slivers into play with Collected Company, and we can't put in 5-drops with it. So that's why we are a very low to the ground aggro deck here. So that's our entire main board except for lands here, which we're going to talk about those right now. We're playing 4 Sliver Hive, 4 Secluded Courtyard, and 4 Unclaimed Territory. Functionally very, very similar cards, Sliver Hive being the best of the bunch. So they all tap for colorless, and they all tap for 1 mana of any color for our Slivers, which is fantastic. But Sliver Hive notably has 5 and tap, put a 1/1 colorless Sliver creature token on the battlefield. Activate this ability only if you control a Sliver. So obviously it's the best land of the bunch. But what is worth noting is, with the lack of the Sliver Hive reprint from the Commander Masters Commander deck, Sliver Hive has shot up a lot in value. It's probably, I think about right now, it's almost like $180 for an entire playset of Sliver Hive, which is pretty crazy right now. If you're looking for just like a good substitute, I mean, pretty much any land that makes green, which obviously I'll show a couple of those after here, would be the best option. But fortunately, with 4 Secluded Courtyard and 4 Unclaimed Territory, there's not a lot of good substitutes for it. But if you happen to have some laying around in like your random, lands or rare binder, I would either consider trading them, or you're already halfway there to building the Sliver deck. So anyways, rounding out our land base here, we're playing 4 Mana Confluence, 3 Botanical Sanctum, and 2 Copperline Gorges. Botanical Sanctum and Copperline Gorge I chose because with the fast lands, they come in untapped early game, but they can help us play our 1-drop Slivers. Botanical Sanctum specifically helps us play our Gale Rider Sliver and can tap for Collected Company. Copperline Gorge striking Sliver with Collected Company helps us cast that as well. So that's why I chose those lands specifically. And then rounding out our land base, we're playing 2 Mutavaults. Obviously, we can tap 1 and make it 2/2 with all creature types, which obviously gets all the buffs with the Sliver. So then it's a 4/5 flying haste vigilant Sliver for 1 mana. Obviously fantastic for Mutavault. So that is our entire main board. We're going to hop into the sideboard here. We're playing 3 Tormod's Crypts. Obviously great against decks that are playing a lot of graveyard effects. That kind of thing, graveyard synergy. We bring in the Tormod's Crypt and we get rid of those graveyards. 2 Damping Spheres. Obviously really good against the Mono Green Devotion decks. Lotus combo, just fantastic against. Also, if they're playing like any combo deck, like like the Rona Mox Amber combo, also fantastic against them as well. We're also playing 2 Warping Whales. So Warping Whale, we can bring this in against a lot of different decks. If they're playing the main reason we do is the counter target sorcery spell. We can counter like an Indomitable Creativity. We can also counter like a Storm the Festival. We can even pick off a Llanowar Elf with it. Warping Whale overall, just a pretty solid card. So we'll go to the next slide here. So the reason I chose a lot of colorless spells is with our land base being so restrictive. Obviously, we have 12 lands that only make mana for Slivers. So I tried to do some colorless slots that we can pretty much play in any given situation. But what's really, really cool about the Unclaimed Territory, Secluded Courtyard, and Sliver Hive is they all make colorless mana, so that lets us play our Warping Whales, which is fantastic, and as well as our Spatial Contortion, which is technically a removal spell that we can, use any color mana for, which is fantastic. So Spatial Contortion, 1 on a colorless instant, target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn. It's a really weird removal spell, but anything that's, less than 3 toughness just dies to the Spatial Contortion. So definitely a very, very good removal spell for the deck. We're also playing 2 Venom Slivers. It's a 1/1 for 1 and a green Sliver. Sliver creatures you control have Death Touch. Pretty much bring this in the aggro matchups, because obviously when our stuff has Death Touch, we can trade with pretty much anything. So that's why we're playing the Venom Sliver. And rounding out our sideboard, we are playing 2 Siphon Sliver. It's a 2/2 for 2 and a black. Sliver creatures you control have lifelink. life link, not think. But yes, the life link obviously bringing it in against the aggro matchups. Pretty much, we just want to make our aggro matchups a little bit better, so that's why we're boarding in the Siphon Sliver and the Venom Slivers, and probably the Spatial Contortions as well, if we're being completely honest, for some extra removal. So that is the entire deck, man. We flew through that because we have so many 4-ofs. I feel like we only went through even a couple slides there. So anyways, I'd like to thank everybody for watching this video here. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the deck? Are you going to be playing Slivers in Commander with the new Commander Masters deck coming out? Are there any reprints you're excited for Slivers, specifically that set? Just let me know in the comment section below. And as always, the deck list will be in the description if you'd like to check it out for yourself. I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.